Today's topic is very important to me, and it is about carbs, sugar, and sweeteners. So if I can get you to actually get me to share screen, enable the screen sharing. If you can make me the live host, that would be great. We're working with the Disability Foundation, and we're on ConnecTra's live. So there we go. Okay. And again, I am Renee, and I am a dietitian in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I'm also licensed and certified in the US as well. My company is called True Nosh, and you can email me at info@truenosh.com if you have any questions after presentation. During the presentation, you can also write in the comments section. I'll try my best to answer while I do this webinar and also the cooking demo. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about why we are talking about sugars, carbs, and sweeteners today. Because it is the truth, we are, as a global population, really addicted to sugar. And that really depends on where you are looking at. So like growing up, in the Western world, eating a lot of cereal, kids' cereal are also known to have a lot of sugars in them and a lot of colors that, attract you to buy these sugary breakfast items. But now we, as a population, know that sugar is not the best thing to have in our body, but we also need it. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you why later, why we need it. But again, sugar, overconsumption of sugar, because it's in literally everything, sauces, muffins, yogurt, you name it, can lead to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, and then metabolic disorders, as well as certain mental disorders. And that's why we're talking about it today. And my company is really founded based on disease prevention, especially diabetes. And my father did pass away from diabetes about 10 years ago. And that really left a mark on me in becoming a registered dietitian to help preventing diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and other diseases that relate to obesity and certain foods. And I want to tell you about carbs. So a lot of people know about carbs and they want to adapt a low carb diet. A lot of people are adapting a keto diet lately. It's a fad, and it's something to do with carbs, and you want to kind of eliminate it, right? But in reality, carbs is in everything. It is a sugar, but it's also in starches like your potatoes and rice. And it's also in fibers found in so many things like fruits, grains, vegetables, and even milk products. So what it is one of the macronutrients. So we have carbs, fat, and protein that we really need essentially in order for our bodies to function. And carbs actually should take up most of it, like about 45 to 55% of your daily intake, because it provides fuel to your central nervous system, your brain, and also in your muscles need energy. And carbs provide that energy for you to do things in a day-to-day basis. You need carbs to drive, you need carbs to walk, you need carbs to take up the garbage and wake up in the morning. So it is a very important thing that you use, and it's the first line of energy that your body uses. So what it is also important for brain function, and the RDA, which is the recommended daily allowance of carbs, is actually based on the amount of carbs that your brain needs to function. So without carbs, your brain doesn't really function. But now what I'm talking about is simple versus complex carbs, and those are the things that you really need to understand to differentiate which are good ones, which are medium, mediocre carbs, and which are carbs that you should certainly limit yourself with or stay away from, right? And that is why we are going to talk about sugar now. So sugar is a carb, there's no question about that. And sucrose, which is your table sugar, is actually 50% glucose and 50% fructose. So sucrose is actually two molecules that come together. But how is it synthesized? So plants are the form of sugar that produces carbs, because they are outside absorbing sunlight. Therefore, they have a process of photosynthesis that happens, and when you absorb sunlight and carbon dioxide from the air, it pulls nutrients and water from the ground also into its roots. That actually causes sucrose to form in the roots and also helps the plant grow. And that's kind of where really sugar comes from. Table sugar is made by sugarcane, and sugarcane is a plant. So all plants' foods have carbs. Then you want to sort of understand how many carbs is in 1 tablespoon or teaspoon of sugar. So 1 teaspoon of sugar is about 4.5 grams by weight. But with that, equating to amount of carbs, it's about 4 to 5 grams of carbs. So similar to the weight. But then you also need to understand that there are calories involved in carbs, and usually 1 gram of carbs equates to about 4 calories. So now 1 teaspoon has about 16 to 20 calories, depending on, your teaspoon. If you have a heaping teaspoon, if you have a small teaspoon, or if you have a perfect sized teaspoon, and everyone's, scoop is a little bit different. So this is sort of a ballpark that you should keep in mind when you're adding sugar to your baking, sugar to your yogurt, sugar to your oatmeal, or sugar to your coffee. That's something that you can use to equate to how many grams of carbs that you're eating or drinking. And a lot of people are wondering what glycemic index is, and that really relates to carbs. And it is in a lot of different companies' marketing scheme. This has a low glycemic index, it has a high glycemic index, and you want to understand what that number really relates to, okay? And it is a measurement, and it is a measure of how quickly something that has carbohydrate results in your blood sugar increase after eating it. So as a point of reference, glucose, which is 100% sugar, is 100 in terms of glycemic index. And then you want to go and look at things that you eat on a regular basis. So as an Asian, I eat a lot of rice, but white rice and brown rice are also very different. So white rice has 60, table sugar, which is 63, so it's a little bit higher than white rice, but then also some dry fruits like dates. So there's no really differentiation between what types of dates. I don't know if you guys have seen some of my previous sessions. I use some dates in some of my cooking. And I talked about medjool dates versus a Diet-Noir date. And you want to understand that the smaller the date, the more surface area that has the skin on top of it. And that skin has fiber and protein that can help you absorb sugar a little slower. So as I said in a previous session, fiber is your best friend, and you want to make sure that you're looking at the fiber content when you're buying a packaged food, and you want to see per serving, you need to have at least 2 to 3 grams or even more per serving size, and that should be kind of your goal when you're buying a packaged item on the shelf. The higher fiber, the better it is compared to a lower fiber, similar packaging. You want to really go with the higher fiber content, and that will actually bring down your glycemic index as well. Some foods, such as juices, soft drinks, and even cereals, have fructose sweeteners. So you'll see in the ingredient list that maybe fructose or high fructose corn syrup is used. It is ultimately a sugar and it is a sweetener, but there is an interesting, deceptively low glycemic index in those types of foods compared to things that have more glucose. As I said before, glycemic index uses glucose as a measurement, and fructose is really not used as a unit of measure. So therefore, it actually doesn't raise blood sugar as quickly, so therefore resulting in a lower glycemic index. But that doesn't mean that it is better for you than something that has higher glucose content. But with that said, it actually also helps increase your likelihood of developing fatty liver, which is really bad, and it hinders, you know, all your metabolism and other functions that your body uses the liver for, right? So toxins may increase in your blood, and you can't metabolize certain things as quickly because you have developed a fatty liver. And then it can also increase insulin resistance. So therefore, with that, your risk of weight gain and future health problems can increase. So you want to be mindful of your ingredients when you're looking at the nutrition table and the back of the product. Try to avoid things that have fructose in it, just fructose, right? But what this is, fructose is also in fruits, and that's a little bit different because fructose in this form is completely 100% human synthesized fructose that is taken out of fruits and taken out of vegetables and in its purest form. But when you look at a fruit like this is a banana. I'm sure everybody knows and I'm familiar with this. There is fructose in fruits, but there's also a lot of different nutrition and nutrients in the fruits, like fiber. There's vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C. You know, a lot of different things happen in a whole fruit or vegetable item that you don't find in a packaged food item that uses 100% fructose or glucose syrup, right? This slide is actually something that I want to help people understand. One banana is one banana, just like 1 ton of feathers is the same as 1 ton of bricks, right? They're both 1 ton. So one banana would have the same amount as, one ripe banana would have the same amount of calories as one not so ripe banana, and also the same amount of carbohydrates. But what you need to know is the amount of carbs that has been broken down in this piece of fruit, okay? So if you think about it, when you cut a fruit from its tree or from its plant, it starts deteriorating and it starts breaking down the amount of fiber in there, and also the carbs gets turned from being a more complex carbohydrate to now a more simple and carbohydrate. And therefore, the more simple the carbohydrate, the easier you can digest it in your gut, and that easier that it can travel to your bloodstream, right? So as somebody who's trying to prevent diabetes, you want to pick something that's less ripe because there's less amount of simple carbs in there. Therefore, it can turn into blood sugar a little bit slower because you need to have more time to digest it, okay? Some sweeteners that are often seen in packages are all listed here. There is a measurement that you see in all the different types of sweeteners and sugars that I have listed here. And it is on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 meaning not too good for your blood sugars, and then 0 meaning it won't increase your blood sugar as quickly. And a lot of new items also you see in these packaged sweetener forms and also in liquid forms. And you want to be able to understand what you're putting in your body versus, you know, how long it takes for you to metabolize it, okay? So this is a slide that I want to have you compare and contrast types of different sugars that are in your foods, as well as, you know, what you use to sweeten things per se, like sweeten your coffee or your sugar, your oatmeal, or even using in cooking, like making muffins or pancakes, right? And not these are sweeteners are necessarily good for you or bad for you, but I just want you to know that you know, they're a measurement of how fast you absorb into your bloodstream. Okay, so some cons for sweeteners. And it is not to say that they're all bad, but if you use sweeteners in your food, it actually has some negative effects because you maintain that craving for sweet foods. Therefore, you know, you increase the feeling of reward when you're eating something, example, like a muffin or, you know, a cookie or even yogurt that's a little bit sweeter than something that's not. And then that causes an increased risk that you'll end up eating more than you need because it's a little bit sugary on your palate, right? And therefore, with that said, all of that leads down to slowing your rate of weight loss. So you don't lose weight as easily because you tend to eat more of something, even though it doesn't have that much sugar in it. And it might even cause weight gain. So the cravings of sugary foods tend to increase over time when you cut out sugar or sweet items in your meals or snacks, and it makes it actually easier for you to avoid it. So training your palate to like things that are less sweet and less potent will actually help you crave them less over time. Okay. Some new sweeteners that are in the market I want to focus on is currently there's maltitol, stevia, erythritol, monk fruit, and xylitol. So these are some of the major sweeteners that candy companies are using or cereal companies are using. There's a little bit of a little typo there, but I will change it. So maltitol and erythritol and xylitol, anything with the OL in the back is a type of alcohol actually. So these are called sugar alcohols and they resemble sugar and they are known to be absorbed in the small intestine, and some sweeteners like maltitol is probably not a good choice for people on low carb diets or people trying to prevent diabetes because it raises a little bit of blood sugar and insulin levels. So that's something that someone who's trying to prevent diabetes should not lean towards if they're shopping for a packaged food item. But some things like stevia, erythritol, monk fruit, and xylitol, you'll find it in a lot of packaged foods. And they are all derived from plant materials. So stevia is from a leaf. And one con is that it has more like a metallic-y licorice aftertaste, and it's not really something that people like in their foods. But it is actually 200 to 350 times sweeter than table sugar, so you don't need to use that much. Erythritol is in some toothpaste and gums, and actually has been known to actually decrease your plaque and can prevent some cavities. And it is something that is only partially digested, so therefore it doesn't get absorbed in the body. And it is only about 70% as sweet as table sugar. So some sweeteners with erythritol, you might need to use a little bit more than a recipe calls for when it asks for sugar. So monk fruit. Monk fruit is something that I actually grew up with as an Asian, and we used to boil it with water and make it into a tea. And I actually really like the taste of monk fruit. I think maybe because it is a nostalgia for me, and it reminds me of home and nourishment. But there is both fructose and sucrose in it because it is actually a fruit, right? But there are non-caloric compounds in there called macrosides, and they are actually really sweet. And this monk fruit extract is about 150 to 200 times sweeter than table sugars. So like stevia, it has a little bit of a metallic taste, but a little bit more soothing because it's more herbal. And you can also use less of it. And then the fourth one is xylitol. So it is, again, a sugar alcohol, but it is found in fruits and vegetables in small amounts. And it's usually produced by corn or birch trees in the commercial form, and it has quite a low glycemic index of 13, and only 50% is absorbed. So what happens is if you eat too much xylitol, it might get trapped in your digestive tract and causes bacteria to ferment. So it might cause some digestive issues like bloating and gas. So some people who have experienced that by eating things that have xylitol might want to choose something else. But it is more like one-to-one to the sweetness of table sugar. So xylitol is in a lot of different sweet types of baking ingredients because it is one-to-one and it's easy for people to substitute sugar with. Okay, so here we are, a little bit of a warning. So some zero calorie sweeteners are actually almost 100% carbs, right? So some packets of stevia or some of these branded items has 0 calories, but according to the Food and Drug Association, that allowance, if there's less than 1 gram of carbs or fat 4 calories per serving, you can actually label something as 0 calories. So if you add them up, it doesn't actually equal to 0. So that's a little bit deceiving, but that is marketing for a lot of these companies. So you should be really careful of which type of sweeteners that you buy, okay? And so for diet drinks, so the diet drinks are famous for their aspartame content, and that's especially a man-made sweetener. And regular consumptions, like I said before, actually stimulate your craving for sweet foods. And then your palate, cannot start training your desire of sweet foods. So therefore, it actually kind of has a counter effect on your strive to become a little bit healthier. Okay, so I would try to avoid something that says diet because it does have that sweet taste to it. So it doesn't actually really help you on the long run. And I urge you to choose your health. This is a slide that I usually put on to my sessions because you really want to focus on what you want to do in the long-term care of yourself, right? So try to lower your stress levels. Some things that you can do is meditate, go get a massage, lower your caffeine intake, especially when you are about to go to bed. Laugh a little more, right? So call up your friends or hang out with your family. That can help you relieve stress. And then exercise. So whatever you choose, either yoga, go for a walk, do some stretching, lift some weights. Everything that you do that is a physical activity can be considered as an exercise. Getting enough sleep. So really shut your eyes for about 7 to 8 hours. Slowly eating your food. So I can't urge people to do that more. As we said in the mindful eating session, it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to know that you've eaten something, and chewing slowly promotes digestion and absorption of nutrients. Staying hydrated, so try to choose something that is not sweet. So water is the best choice, but if you have to choose, you can do some tea, or you can use some sparkling water. And in the summer, you know, adding some ice to it or some fruits like we're going to do later on in our kitchen will really help that thirst quenching effect, right? And then staying hydrated can also benefit your lining of your intestines. So feeding, you know, your good bacteria with hydrated, you know, hydration is really good for your gut health. And then mindful eating. We had a whole session about mindful eating. And you want to really decipher between emotional eating versus actually being hungry. And you want to ask your question to yourself whenever you know, go to your fridge and look for something to eat. Are you actually hungry? Or are you actually just, you know, thirsty? Or are you actually just bored and want something to do? And if you are the latter, you really want to rethink if you really want to go for that food or really want to just go take a breather and go outside for 2 to 3 minutes and just take a breath of fresh air or go for a walk around the block, you know. And then read your labels. So last week we talked about nutritional labels and ingredients. That is something that I really expect everyone to watch over and over again. And reading your labels can let you know what exactly you're eating. Read the ingredients because, you know, you want to know what goes into your food. And then cooking more at home with wholesome foods. Like go to the grocery store, buy produce, you know, that you've never heard of or seen before, and then go back and Google a recipe that uses that type of fruits or vegetables and make something new with it, right? Don't be afraid. They're in the grocery store for a reason. People buy it because you can use it in food. All right, so what are the outcomes of, you know, adapting to a healthier lifestyle and choosing your health? Well, you become more aware of your body and your cravings, and you have more self-control, and you have more positive emotions because you are choosing good things that you're putting in your body. So deal with impulses more effectively, take charge of your responses instead of your instinct. And lastly, maintaining health is more than just, you know, taking a pill of vitamins and minerals. It's more than just one food item or one food group. I know we talked about carbs today. I don't want you to focus on carbs, but it is important to know what it is and why we're talking about it. And it's also not just one exercise, right? You know, having a balance between weightlifting and walking and cardio can really benefit your body in a lot of different ways. And then balancing your diet and exercise and mindful eating are really important to establish an overall healthy outcome to life. All right. And lastly, HealthLink BC is there for you. You can pick up the phone, or call 811, or you can go on their website. You know, you can ask questions. Really, prevention is key. You don't want to end up in the hospital. You really don't want to end up, you know, fainting on the street because you have a hypoglycemic attack or a hyperglycemic attack, right? So learn about how to live a healthier lifestyle. And there are a lot of different people online or via the phone can really help you if you need to talk to anybody. And also go visit bcdietitians.ca if you want to find a local dietitian that can help you. You can also go on their website and ask questions and book a session with a local dietitian in BC. All right. Again, not to focus on one nutrient. Your overall lifestyle is the biggest impact and really makes the biggest difference to your health. And read your labels. Low fat doesn't mean healthy, okay? You want to also concentrate on if there's refined carbohydrates, meaning simple carbohydrates. We talked about what that means today earlier. How many calories in a serving, how much sugar and sodium is also in that per serving. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our kitchen, and I want to see if there's anybody with questions. Is there anybody asking questions on Facebook that I need to know of? Or here? Nope. I guess we can go and get ourselves prepared in the kitchen. So I already have a few things in mind to go and talk about today and trying to lower your sugar intake, okay? I'm gonna make a really quick dessert, which is a simple lemon curd. And lemon curds or lemon custard is that custard in a lemon meringue pie, or you can use it as a spread on toast or a bagel, or you can use it as sweetening your yogurt or a pudding. And then we're gonna, do a really quick summer drink. It is July now, and weather should get nicer and nicer and warmer. If you're craving a diet drink, then you can go ahead and see what there are in your local farmers markets or in your, fruit aisle of your grocery store, and use that instead of sugar or a packet of sweetener in your summer refreshing drink. So I have some club soda, and I also grew some mint. Mint is so easy to grow and really costs nothing. It needs a little bit of sunlight and a little bit of water, and you don't even need to water it daily or even weekly. Just, make sure that the soil is wet or moist, not too wet, and that's all. And you can have mint throughout the whole year. This is some chocolate mint that I have on my windowsill, and it is the plant that keeps giving. Okay, and then we're gonna make a really simple oat milk from scratch. So oat milk is another substitute for dairy milk, and it is used widely in local coffee shops as the milk alternative. I've switched from almond milk and coconut milk to oat milk because it is grown in Canada and it uses way less water than coconut or almond. So that's something that I want to teach you how to make oat milk at home. That makes it a lot easier for you to do, and you can use the oats that have been left over, like the residual oats, to make some crackers if you want, or put it in your oatmeal or use it to thicken things. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna make a refreshing drink. So I have some local cherries here. I washed them and I just took the stem off. I didn't even pit them. So what you want to do is get some ice here, and I'm just going to put it in a jar, and then get some club soda or sparkling water. Don't buy tonic water because tonic water also has a lot of sugar inside. So club soda would be my go-to if I want something fizzy. You can also buy yourself a soda stream too, right? So that would make sure that you have a lot of that around your house, so you don't have to worry about buying soda water. Okay, so what you want to do is using a spoon and mush some of the cherries inside, and the water is already turned really nice dark pink, right? So, or purple even. Okay, so I have about 6 cherries in here, and you can muddle it with your spoon. And then I have some mint that I'm going to pluck off the stem, and the stem you can use as a garnish too. So this is a really beautiful drink that you can make to reward yourself after a long day at work. And I'm gonna put this on the side as a garnish. How beautiful is that? And then the rest of the mint you can chop and put it inside the drink. So this becomes a really nice, refreshing summer drink that you can enjoy with a loved one on your porch, or take it on your picnic and bring it to a barbecue, right? So there you go. And then you can, if you like some citrus, you can always squeeze a little bit of lemon, but cherries are right now in season. And what I urge people to do with seasonal fruits is freeze them, and then you can enjoy it throughout the winter and the springtime. Okay, so freezing them actually locks the nutrition inside the fruits and vegetables, and you can basically have it year round. And then the next summer you can freeze more. That's really good. Okay, so after that, make sure you close your sparkling water and no air gets escapes. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna do a really quick oat milk. So I have some rolled oats here. You can toast them if you want on a pan. So if you toast them, it becomes nice golden brown. It has a toasty flavor to it. You don't even have to toast them if you want, but toasting them gives it a malty aroma also, and it actually gives it a nice color. Your oat milk does become a little bit more brown if you toast them. What you want to do is put it in a blender. So I have a handheld blender in here. So this is about half a cup of oats. And what I want to do is for each half cup is about half a liter of water. So you can soak it overnight if you want to. But if you just make it now, you can put a little bit less water initially and then just add more water. So the intention is to break down the oats. And really, it takes about 15 seconds. And you see the water already gets milky, right? And that's actually it. And you want to strain it. You can add a little bit more water to this. And this oat milk is actually a little bit sweeter than regular milk. So as I said, you want to train your palate to crave less sweet things, right? So oat milk is a good alternative to your coffee milk or cream because it actually is a little bit more sweeter than regular milk. It's got about double amount of carbs because it is oats versus cow milk. But what you can do is you're starting to train your palate to crave sugar, okay? So for this, you actually don't need any sugar in it. And you just pour it in a strainer, as I have here. And then after your oats get strained through, you can use this oats here to make cookies or muffins or put it in your oat milk. So they're quite nice. So this oat milk does separate in the fridge. All you need to do is stir it up with a spoon or shake it around before you use it in your coffee. You can also make a nice foam with this oat milk. You can also use this as a thickener for soups and sauces. So regular oat milk in the grocery store has a chemical process that they've gone through, and it doesn't thicken when you cook it. But oat milk at home, it does thicken. So you can use this as a thickener instead of flour or cornstarch. You can use oat milk, and it can provide you with a really nice hearty soup or a nice thickener for any of the sauces that you make. Okay, so that's a really quick way to make oat milk. And then now we're going to go into making a dessert. So I'm going to mix everything together. What I have here is a double boiler. So I have a mixing bowl, and on the bottom I have some water. And this is how chefs make like hollandaise sauce or custards, right? I'll bring you closer to my bowl, but before that I want to show you how I sweeten my lemon custard. Okay, so I rinsed out my blender that I previously used for my oat milk. And then I have this really nice ambrosia apple that I got at the Kwantlen Farmers Market last week. And there's a beautiful man selling beautiful apples there. So I will be at the Kwantlen Farmers Market on Tuesday, which is in Richmond at the Richmond City Hall, like across the street from the Richmond City Hall. All right, so I'm gonna cut one whole apple and put it in my blender. And the good thing is we're using lemons, right? So with lemons, so I'm just going to move this so everybody can see. With lemons, it actually prevents the apple from getting brown, right? So it helps you the apple become keeps it color, right? So it doesn't oxidize so quickly. I'm cutting the apples into smaller chunks because I want to be nice to my blender, so it blends up quicker. So this lemon custard is quite thick, and you only need to use 2 whole eggs with it, okay? A lot of lemon custards calls for just egg yolks, but I use the whole eggs because I want the protein that's in there. And because we're using the whole egg, we want a little bit of color, right? So my go-to for yellow color is turmeric. We're going to add a little bit of turmeric to the custard to make it yellow. And what that also does is actually adds an extra anti-inflammatory agent to our custard, which is great. And custards are also often high in saturated fats because it is all butter. And what we're going to use today is just an olive oil and some nutritional yeast. So I always have a really nice amount of nutritional yeast around, because if I don't have butter, which I usually don't, not that butter is bad, but I don't really use butter in anything. So I will add some nutritional yeast to make up for the butter, and it actually adds an additional layer of cheesiness and creaminess to my food. So I have some nutritional yeast here. And then what I want to do also to help thicken my custard further is some psyllium husk powder, which is fiber, right? So you can, if you don't find psyllium husk, you can just put in a small scoop of fiber in there, and that will help you absorb sugar a lot slower and help you digest it slower. And this is actually a good soluble fiber. So any chance I have, I always add some fiber to my food. Okay. So the apples are blended with a ½ cup of lemon juice. I'm going to get some lemon juice. I forgot that. Okay, so this is a cup measurement. I'm just going to put in ½ cup of lemon juice, and then a little bit of water also. Okay, just to help the apples break up. And that's it. We're going to blend that really nicely. You notice that I didn't peel the apples because this is an organic apple and I washed it well, and the peel has a lot of fiber and antioxidants in them, and you don't want to lose all that nutrition. All right, so that's blended. I'm going to get my mixing bowl that's been sitting on the double boiler. It's a bit warm. The eggs should be at room temperature. The better it is that it will create a nice custard. The colder the eggs, it actually doesn't really like to be cold when you're making a custard, just like when you're making a meringue. You want your eggs to not be so cold. Okay, so now you want a little bit of lemon juice, because acid actually stabilizes the proteins in the egg. So I would only add about 1 teaspoon of lemon juice to my eggs for now, and I'm going to whisk it really nicely. So I'm going to turn up my boiling water in my And now we're gonna whisk it. Okay, so now it's all whisked with the lemon juice. And then I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast also has a good source of vitamin B12. So those of you who are vegetarian or vegan can really benefit from eating some nutritional yeast. And what I'm adding now is about a teaspoon of fiber. Okay, so I'm going to whisk that all together. I'm just getting all the nutritional yeast and the fiber incorporated into my eggs. Okay, so now the water is turning on to a boil and gives me a great time to move you closer to my stove so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I hope everyone can see. Okay, so what I have here, I'm going to continue whisking it, and I'm waiting for this boil, the water to boil. And then I'm just finishing blending my apples. And then I also have some olive oil on hand with the cap off, and I'm going to drizzle the olive oil into the custard. So the water is semi-boiled, and what I'm doing here is continue to whisk it until there's some bubbles forming in the eggs. You don't want to make scrambled eggs, so that's why you want to continually whisk it. And you'll feel that it will get thickened as the heat hits the bottom of the pan. And as that feels like it's getting thicker, you can add your blended apples with your lemon juice all in. And this custard you can actually keep in a jar for about a month because of so much lemon juice. It actually acts as a stabilizer. So make sure you pour it out or you know, put it in a really nice airtight container in the fridge. And this recipe, you actually don't need to add too much oil because of the apples already actually thicken the eggs quite a lot. So the more you whisk it, the more bubbly it's going to get, and you feel that it's going to thicken every time you whisk it more. And once it becomes a nice custard, you just add about 3 tablespoons of olive oil just to seal it and give it a good nice gloss. And there you have your lemon custard. Okay. You can use this as a filling for your lemon meringue pie. And this also is a great way to work out your arms when you are cooking. And after a good arm workout, you get the reward. Okay, so you need to work out first and then get this nice recipe. You can also use this to sweeten your yogurt or a pudding that you've made. So we made a chia seed pudding in a few episodes before this one, so I urge you to try this. Okay, bottom is quite hot. And then the more you stir it, you know, the thicker it gets. I'm actually going to turn on the big guy, so it actually gets a little bit more heat on it. Okay, so now it's already thickened, right? You see that it's a really nice custard. And now I'm gonna start drizzling a little bit of olive oil into my pan, about 3 tablespoons, give or take. You just wanted to add that to create a nice sheen and to kind of seal the custard. And now you can stop. And then at the end, I'm going to add a little bit of turmeric, which actually makes it a little bit more yellow because we've added the whole egg and not egg yolk. Okay, so this is about half a teaspoon, sorry, of turmeric. If it's a teaspoon, it just makes it a little bit too yellow. Okay, so now we have the custard. I'm going to take it off the heat and bring you back to the top so you can see everything I'm doing. And then I have a little bit of a pie crust that I can make with my granola. So if you guys want to vote for me, my granola is up for Product of the Year this year for BC Food Awards. So go to bcfbawards.com/vote and check me out with my goji granola. So my granola, I have some goji berries, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, a lot of cinnamon in there. So if you have like a nice tart shell like this, you can just put it on the very bottom, okay? And put a little bit of the custard on top and leave it in the fridge for about 2 to 3 hours, and it will make a really nice dessert that you can share with your friends and family. Okay, and the custard has added fiber. It has a whole apple in it, and there is no sugar needed, and you can feel a little bit less guilty eating a dessert like that. Okay, so a thin layer is enough, and then you can use a nice piece of mint to garnish the top. And there you go, a lemon custard with some granola on the bottom. We made oat milk really easily, half a cup of oats with about 250 mils of water. You can use that for your coffee, so you don't actually have to add sugar. And then we created a really nice fizzy summer drink with some local cherries and some mint from my yard. So I am all done today.